If you want to improve your street and travel photography and get awesome shots of people that capture the lifestyle and the culture of a destination, watch this video. I'll tell you how to take your shots from this to this. There are lots of videos like this coming up on the channel, so before we begin, just hit that subscribe and click on that bell. You've done it? Let's begin. When we travel, we take a ton of photos of landmarks, buildings, beaches, food, all with the aim of telling a bit of a story of where we've been. But I believe that it's people that really capture the essence of a destination. Photographing locals really help tell the story of the place, far better than a bunch of selfies do. Many of us think that street photography is about photographing people without their knowledge, capturing candid shots, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do it myself. Candid photography requires skill and good timing. You've got to be quick and unobtrusive. You've certainly got to have all your camera settings figured out before you lift it. Of course, this can go wrong, and it often does. You can be photographing somebody and they suddenly look up and glare at you. Somebody in the background could be staring at you, wondering what you're doing. That's not so good. If you're standing across the street with a telephoto, that's one way of doing it. That works well. But if you go in close and you don't ask permission, you poke a camera in somebody's face, that's just rude. Nobody wants to see a photo of somebody looking angry or uncomfortable, and that's hardly going to sell a destination. But a smiling face will. There are exceptions to going in close and not asking permission, such as street performers and people in shop windows preparing food specifically for tourists. That's acceptable. I believe the best way to capture somebody in their natural surroundings is to go in close and be part of the moment. Here's a typical scenario. I was walking along the street a few years ago in a very non-touristy part of Cuba and came across locals playing dominoes. Most of us would stand across the street and shoot this type of shot. Some of us may move closer and shoot this. But at this range, they could look up and glare at you and may not be happy about that. Plus, it's a boring image. It doesn't really tell much of a story. So my answer is to walk right up to them, smile, say hi, just spend some time with them, just watch, show an interest. I don't speak Spanish and these guys didn't speak English, so eventually I just pointed my camera, pointed at them, and they understood that I wanted to take a photo, and they were more than happy to oblige. With this shot, I was able to get in close and really show how serious they take the game and the concentration involved, and it tells a compelling story, far better than the other shots. To the point where I was using some off-camera flash for some really dramatic lighting, but that's another video for another time. Here's another example of domino players in Cuba that gained my trust a little and allowed me to shoot them candidly as well as pose. And again, this guy in a Barbados fish market, he spoke English, so it was much easier to ask, and he was happy to oblige. So my top 3 tips. Number 1, be nice and respectful. Walk up to people, smile, put them at ease. Communicate with them, gain their trust, just like you would with formal portrait photography. Don't lift your camera straight away. Make sure they're relaxed and capture a real moment. Number 2, confidence. This is a really important thing. You've got to be confident when you approach somebody. I found that once I became 100% confident in my abilities as a photographer, as well as in handling these sort of situations, more people agreed to be photographed. If you lack confidence and you're nervous, I think that shows, and that makes people uncomfortable. But on the other hand, don't be arrogant and feel entitled that if you ask that you expect to get a photograph. I've seen guys act like that and it's embarrassing to watch. Even if you're really nice, you've got to expect rejection. It's part of the deal. Number 3, camera settings. Make sure you've figured out your camera settings, your exposure and everything, and what you're going to shoot before you approach somebody. There's nothing worse than somebody agreeing to have their photograph taken and then you're lifting your camera and fiddling around with the settings, and you're just going to kill the moment. Early one morning in Santiago de Cuba, I came across this street vendor with his horse going up and down the residential streets selling his fruit, and I thought he was a really interesting character. He'd clearly been doing that all of his life. His face was weathered, he was tired, dirty looking, so was his horse. But he had a sense of pride. There was a sparkle in his eye. He had life in him, especially when people approached him to buy his product. Typically, this is the type of shot that you're going to shoot when you're walking down the street. It looks interesting, so the first thing you're going to do is lift your camera and get an image like this. I decided that I needed to go up close and get this guy's story. It's part of the story of Cuban street life, which is what I was shooting. So I just approached him, looked at his fruit, smiled and like, bueno, is it good? And I held out some coins. He took a couple from my hand and he gave me this massive, great big bunch of this fruit. He was just so happy at this point that I was communicating with him, that I was showing an interest, that I bought some of his product. And only then did I lift the camera and say, can I take a photo of you? More than happy to pose. I captured a real moment. I captured somebody who just shone, like the sparkle in his eye and his pride. I caught that. And you can't capture that doing it candidly across the street with a telephoto. I was part of the moment. I engaged with this guy and I got a far better shot. So I've gone from here to here. People have said to me, wow, your photography is amazing. You must be a great photographer. The truth is, I'm not a great photographer. I simply take time to show an interest in people and be nice. That really is the secret. One last story. A few years ago, a publication sent me to the island of Malta to shoot a travel article for them. And on my shot list was the famous Maltese honey rings. And I had to find a bakery and shoot some. So I found a bakery and there they were behind the glass cabinet. I could have put a polarizing filter on and shot through the glass and got a very nice shot of a bakery display with these products in. Or I could have bought one and staged a shot. But what better way to show a traditional honey ring than show the traditional baker that baked them as well. And as it turned out, the baker was the only person on the island who didn't speak English, but luckily his daughter did, and we had a chat and she translated, and the baker allowed me to go behind the counter, and he was busy. I had like a minute. I shot a couple of frames with the guy holding the honey rings that he baked this morning, that his father and his grandfather had been baking for decades. Don't you think that was the better option? I do hope you found this video of interest. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time and see you again soon.